The cryptocurrency types, the people who are pushing Bitcoin in particular, make the extraordinarily radical claim that it would be better for everyone if the entire business of money was taken out of the hands of government permanently. And that's essentially what Bitcoin allows, at least at the present time. And so that means that central bankers and politicians would, in principle, assuming this is actually a possibility, would never be able to print money, and they would never be able to inflate currency. And what do you think about those sorts of cryptocurrency claims? And well, I'd like to know what you think about that in general.
I agree with that. I think they're right. We have a fiat currency right now, and that's why this inflation, and we are losing our purchasing power. Yes, I believe that we must have more competition, and the cryptocurrencies and the Bitcoin can be an alternative. But personally, I prefer a gold standard like we had in the 19th century here in Canada, because when you have a gold standard, the central bank won't be able to print money out of thin air. It's another way to control the central bank. So, and we had that before in the past, in the 19th century, and that was very prosperous time, prosperous century. So, but I'm not against the cryptocurrency. I think we must have more competition. You're absolutely right on that.
So the Austrian economists, the Hayek types, and they believe that the business cycle is actually, the boom and bust business cycle is actually produced by the attempts by government to overspend in the face of so-called crises, and that produces inflation and a variety of other factors that then produce the business cycle in turn, this sequence of essential busts and booms. And so does that seem like a reasonable proposition to you, or do you look at it differently than that? No,
I think you're absolutely right, Jordan. Hayek, Mises, Rothbard, that they're real economists, and they know that, and they're the only one that wrote about that and studied that. And I believe, yes, the circle that we have, the up and downs in the economy, it's because of the central bank. Money is everywhere, and if you create too much money out of thin air, you'll have inflation and distortion in the economy and boom and boost that we have. So I 100% agree with Mrs. Rothbard, Hayek, and these economists.
So, I think these are ideas, just we'll move a bit sideways here again. I think a lot of what political leaders could do, if they had the intellectual capacity, would be to use forums like YouTube to actually educate the public. And I don't mean I'm shaking my finger at you because you need to be educated. I mean to walk people through the logic and to explain why these propositions are reasonable, and to treat the public as if they're capable of engaging in actual intellectual exercise. Because my experience on YouTube has been that they are, to a massively surprising degree. Because I conduct these discussions with people I really admire, and sometimes those people are really, really smart. And so the discussions go fast and deep, and there's no evidence at all that people aren't following along, and there's plenty of evidence that they really appreciate it.
So yes, I'm doing politics differently, and yes, I believe that people are intelligent, and I don't want to I don't see people like children, that we must give them more security and more regulations and a bigger government that will control them.
Yeah, well, I also think it's stunningly cynical on the part of political leaders to manage their message. Because it means that there's no real faith in just direct discussion, and maybe no capacity for that discussion to begin with. I mean, our Prime Minister has stated publicly that he's really not interested in monetary policy. And what I read that two ways. Three ways. One, how could you possibly say that and not notice what you just said? And second, well, perhaps that's because you actually don't understand it. And third, it's because not only do you not understand it, but you don't know how terrible it is that you don't understand it. Well, let's say there is a 4 to 5% inflation rate for the next 5 to 10 years. And what that means is that the average Canadian savings are going to be cut in terms of their purchasing power by something exceeding 50%. That would be over a 5 to 10 year period. So it doesn't sound like a lot for 4 to 5%, but it compounds across time and it can add up to something substantial in no time flat.
I think we must have a discussion about, yes, COVID-19 and the impact of COVID-19 and all these measures that these governments are imposing to us. That must be very important. Second, we must have a discussion in Canada about our immigration policy. They are afraid to speak about that. That's important. When you believe in mass immigration, 400,000 people a year that will come to our country. After 2 years, it is the population of Nova Scotia, a new Nova Scotia every 2 years. But the worst of that is the big majority of them are refugees or people coming on the reunification of family. So I want to have a discussion on immigration because I love my country. I want my country to be like that in 25 years. I don't want my country to be like in France when there's no go zone over there. People must come to our country and share our values, and they must know that men and women are equal before the law. We must have a discussion about them, and we must welcome them. But instead of having the majority of our migrants refugees and reeducation of family, our immigration policy must be in line with our economic needs. And it is not the case actually right now. So that's why we want fewer immigrants and more skilled immigrants, economic immigrants that will come here. They will have a job. They will be able to integrate our society easily. And so we don't have that discussion. It's always more and more. And if you have that discussion, people will look at you, oh, you're xenophobe, you may be racist. No, actually, we had that discussion in Quebec. As you know, I'm coming from Quebec. That discussion about immigration, because for Quebec, their francophone entity is very important. And at the last election, Legault, that was elected and is the premier of Quebec now, said during the election he wants 20% fewer immigrants. Nobody said that he was a racist, and he said these people must come here and it will be better if they can speak French. If not, we must be able to give them French lesson. And so we had a discussion at the provincial level in Quebec, but in Canada, for the first time at the last campaign, we started that discussion. So I think it's important for the future of this country to have that discussion. It's important for the future of this country to have the discussion on balancing the budget, like I said. We don't have this discussion, and it's sad.